Guys, welcome to the Gun Show. Today we are going to talk about the fact that anybody can claim to be the world's strongest man. I mean, it's 2022, guys. Hello! Welcome to Brain Spill, the laziest show on the internet. My name is Tank, and yes, anybody can technically claim to be the world's strongest man. And that's a pretty bold statement to make, I'm not going to lie, but technically there's nothing stopping you from doing it. Well, within reason anyway. This is like every time you go to the gym. You could be as buff as you want, and you go and you work out, but there's one rule of the gym. I always have it every time I go. Maybe it's just me. But the rule is every time you go and you pump iron, there's always that one guy that is bigger than you, in some shape or fashion. Either he can bench more or he's bigger. It's just an unwritten rule. Regardless of where you go, there's always one person that's better at it than you are. However, if you were to stand there and say that you were the world's strongest man, by many measures, it actually means completely nothing. And the reason for that is, what is the world's strongest man? How do you measure it? How do you define that term? You tell me. Well, one good place to start might be the World's Strongest Man event. This is a title that people compete for pretty much every year, where people come together in a competition and try and win the title of the World's Strongest Man. Seems pretty straightforward. This competition is designed to push strong men to their absolute limits, challenging not only their physical strength, but their agility and mental toughness too. Yes, it's pretty much a competition where they weed out all those beta males and get the true alpha Chad to slap that title on his head and say that he's the world's strongest. Pretty cool, and if that's what you want to go for, then that's a fairly standard measure that you'd use. Just to give you a general idea of what's involved in the World's Strongest Man competition, you might have people deadlifting giant concrete blocks, people pulling vehicles and trucks, and then other people tossing logs around. All pretty much stuff which you would have to be pretty ripped to be able to do without breaking a sweat. The World's Strongest Man competition started in 1977, where the first ever WSM contest was held in Universal Studios, California. Bruce Wilhelm wins the first of his 2 victories and is crowned the world's first strongest man. The next 3 years would be won by a man called Bill Kazma, winning his first 3 championship titles as the world's strongest man. This all sounds pretty standard, until Bill sits down in 1984 and watches a television commercial which pretty much shows the following. This TV commercial showed another man called John Wooten lifting a car and then claiming to be the world's strongest man. Which, I mean, by his sense of the word, he thinks is completely false. Bill seems though that he's the guy that's won the title 3 times at this point, believes that he is the world's strongest man, and for anybody else to blatantly claim that they have that title is completely unacceptable. So he does the one thing that anybody in this situation would rightly do: sue the living hell out of it, because why the hell not? It's the American way. Bill Kazma was the world's strongest man more times than anyone else at that point, claiming that if anyone was going to use the title of the world's strongest man, it should be rightly him, by measure of the fact that he had actually won more titles than anyone else, and won the competition multiple times in the past. Because yes, if there is a world's strongest man, you can't have 2 people that are the world's strongest men. Nah. This is just a one-man deal. If there's 2 people vying for the same title, they're going to have to battle it out. And whilst I would be very, very thrilled if the judge asked them to do a log hurling contest, that's not how the law works, and unfortunately we had to have a court hearing instead. The arguments were that Kazma was the only one who could exclusively use that title, while the defence of Wooten was that Kazma may claim to be the world's strongest man, but had no exclusive right to use that title, meaning that he could, and pretty much anyone else, could claim to be the world's strongest man. It kind of diminishes the whole title if anybody can just brazenly throw it around with nothing to back it up. Almost like a participation trophy. You weren't quite there, but you were there, so you should get something for it. Everybody can be the world's strongest man. You just have to believe in yourself. Like I said earlier, how do you define what the world's strongest man is? Yes, I mean, one way to do it is if you take a very particular and specialised area. Say, for example, someone who was strapped to a truck and pulled it a certain amount of distance. And you could measure strength by how quickly someone was able to do that. So, I don't know, the quickest person to pull a truck 10 metres. That's just something off the top of my head, if you can do it faster than anybody else, then you could argue that you are the world's strongest man. I mean, it would be pretty hard to argue that's not the case when you've just pulled a semi-truck 10 metres in the space of 10 seconds, but you be the judge of that. You might have done that, but someone else might be able to do, say for example, the longest Hercules hold for a certain period of time. For those that don't know, this is a Hercules hold, and it looks pretty strong and pretty hard. If someone else can beat you to that, surely they might be the world's strongest man. Which one's more impressive, and which one would you consider to be the world's strongest man? Dunno. I guess that's why they got a judge involved. Kizma trying to argue that anybody using the phrase was doing so inappropriately, and that by applying this term liberally made it really that only one person could have it. As you might imagine, the lawsuit was well and truly thrown out of court. At the heart of the court's rejection, the main claim was that it was determined Kizma was not entitled to the exclusive use of the phrase the world's strongest man. No official body would grant the use of the term. The world's strongest man, which, although there was a competition that gave the title of the world's strongest man, is a very specific set of events and circumstances, and was by no means a true way to test someone's strength and to ultimately prove that you are, beyond all doubt, the world's strongest man. The judge even went as far to say that the entire term was quite nebulous because, well, anybody could claim to be the world's strongest man. And with that, the value of that title went straight down the pan. Of course, that would be the case if you cited this case as precedent. So let me just keep up my gains so I can become the world's strongest man without any doubt or question about who the world's strongest man was. So, yeah. And, oh boy, it's warm in here today. If you like the video, be sure to like and subscribe. If you want to be notified as soon as I upload my next video, be sure to hit the bell button. And if you've got any ideas for what topics you'd like me to discuss next, let me know down in the comments below. As always, sources used in the video will be in the description. So, yeah, told you guys. World's strongest man. I can claim to be it, and no one can tell me otherwise. I will see you guys in the next video. Fantastic. Oh. Someone look at my back.